Good evening. Tonight I want to talk about the educational developments in Swinton and Kilnhurst. So I've come along to the former Swinton Bridge School. You can perhaps see the hooped railings here. They would have been a late tradition. The original railings would have been taken down in the Second World War for the war effort for scrap metal to be reused. I'll talk more about Swinton Bridge School in a little bit later. There's quite a lot of information to try and get through in the time we've got available. We first have mention of education in the Swinton area in the mid-1700s. And at that time, the second Marquess of Rockingham, he created a training ground for his race horses. He was a great man for the course, for horse racing. He was a racing fanatic, but he was also far more than that. He was a supporter of education and modern farming methods. And he actually created a small school in Swinton where the stable lads, between their time of caring for the horses, they would be taught to read, to write, and actually to do accounts. But it didn't just stop at Swinton, because he also created schools, charity schools, which he funded at Barrow, at Greesborough, Hoyland, at Hook Roberts and at Wath, in addition to his school at Swinton. He also paid for clothing for the boys and the girls, because many of the schools had girls as well. And he paid for teacher costs and repairs to the building. It was his charitable work really which provided for the education there. In 1751, actually, these weren't small schools. In 1751, the school at Barrow, just outside Wentworth, registered 66 students there. Moving on though in time, I'll just show you a picture of the Swinton stables, just to remind you. This top photo here is an aerial photograph of Swinton stables, and it was understood that the school took place in one of the haylofts. So that was the first mention of schooling in Swinton. Moving on in time, the church was a great pioneer of providing popular education. Now, there were a number of private academies around. In fact, one academy was actually on Crossland Street in Swinton, but they were private schools. It was okay if you'd got the money to send your children to. If not, children usually had to work. There was also reference to a small infant school somewhere near the site of the present or St Margaret's Church Hall. In 1851, there was a subscription started locally to actually create what's called a national school. It's a Church of England school, but they're also named national schools. And the 5th Earl Fitzwilliam, he actually provided £236, and he also donated land to provide the national school. And we've got a photograph of the national school here. It was called Fitzwilliam in honour of the 5th Earl. Here we have the building. So 1851, the C of E school opened, and it remained a C of E school until the 1930s, when it transferred to become a county primary school. Over in Kilnhurst, we just mentioned Kilnhurst. The same 5th Earl Fitzwilliam, he actually created the national school in Kilnhurst as early as 1836. He was also assisted by a Mr Fullerton of Thriver Hall. Moving on in time, that served the village while the late 1960s, but obviously this was far too small. And then the new St Thomas School was opened in 1969 to replace the Church of England School, which had served Kilnhurst very well for many years actually. The great progress in education came in the 1870, the year of Queen Victoria, the 1870 Education Act, and that set up school boards all over the country, and that was the purpose of that, was to create opportunities for universal education for all children at that time between the ages of 5 and 10 years. And school boards, education boards were established in lots of different areas to sort of establish those schools. And this is where we have the Swinton Bridge School being built then at that time. 1878 it opened, an education board school. Now the man who built and designed this school, and he also designed the Roman Terrace School, which is now a nursing home. The school's been pulled down. And Kilnhurst Bottom School, which we might call that, the lowest school in Kilnhurst, was this gentleman. It's Joseph Aquila Bauer. He was a builder, an architect, and he was the builder of those three schools that I mentioned. He built many other things as well, built many properties in the Swinton and Kilnhurst area, but he built the schools at that time for the education board. Now, we then had in 1908 Queen Street School, Queen's Primary School was created then. But let's take a look at some of the sort of student groups that we had. These are all taken at Swinton Bridge. All boys there standing in the playground. You can perhaps recognise the windows to the rear of them. I'll just get another photograph here. This is a mixed group of children and parents, pretty much at the same location. This is taken a bit later on. This is probably taken in the 1930s, judging by the appearance of the people there, and also knowing some of the individuals as well. About the 1930s in the schoolyard. It looks like some kind of parents' day, and you see the youngsters there. This one we do have a date on. This is taken in 1920, and this is Swinton Bridge Boys School. Although this was the boys' department in 1920, standard 6 and 7. It says the headmaster was Mr. Goff, and there's the teacher there, Mr. Beavis. You can see the size of the boys' class there. The large class sizes in those days. Now I did mention the National School in Kilnhurst. That stood on Victoria Street. It's now towards the left of the picture. And Swinton Bridge School had, back to Swinton Bridge School, it had a spire. That spire was removed in recent years, actually, for maintenance purposes, I understand. But that's how it once looked in its glory with a spire. Now this is the former Queen Street School, the 1908 school. Brick built, and the Queen Street School was replaced and a new school created and opened in 2010, and the older school was demolished. Now we're going to sort of move on in time, and the infant provision was quite poor in the area. The infants were educated in actually some huts in the middle of town. But then in June in 1953 we had the grand opening of the Swinton Fitzwilliam Infant School, and really this was a fantastic building which no expense was spared. It was formally opened by the Alderman Maurice Cretan, and there we have the school pretty much as it looks today, and really an awful lot of quality products went into the school, and these saw the contractors and suppliers. No expense was spared, down to the parquet flooring and the furniture and the windows. It certainly did the infants proud, and still serves the community very well to this day. So things move on. The Fitzwilliam Juniors still retains the name. It moved from its site on Church Street and now moved pretty much into the grounds of the infant school to create a joint site. The Swinton Bridge School, this closed in 1980. Students went to Brookfield School, and some also went to Queen Street. I must mention a very brief mention of comprehensive education, secondary education. We had to wait to the late 1950s until Swinton Comprehensive School was opened, and that was also opened by the very self-same County Alderman Maurice Cretan. We can see there, that's his photograph, and the art master was making a bronze bust of Alderman Creighton for that purpose. Special School Milton was opened in 1958, and I'm going to leave you with a really wonderful piece of history, because I have here a reference which was written by the headmaster of this school. It is now very faint, but you can see it says Board School Swinton on the 12th of November 1900. John Wilfred Thompson has attended this school for above 7 years. I have always found him honest, truthful, obedient and attentive to his lessons. He is an intelligent boy and he has always given me great satisfaction, and it's signed J.W. Fretwell, Headmaster. This small reference was penned in this very school by the headmaster more than 120 years ago, or 120 years ago in November. So a real piece of living history, and we hope that John Wilfred Thompson went on to have a good career following his education here. Thank you very much.